So in this video, we're going to show you how to change the oil in the filter on a 2021 BMW X3. All right, the first thing you're going to need is 6 quarts of BMW 020 synthetic and a factory filter. These are really odd looking if you're used to changing oil on other cars. These are very narrow, and this one has, I will show you in a minute, has a very unique plug in it. Other things unique to BMW that they like to do is, again, we have to have another special oil filter cap. This goes back to the E46 series. This goes to the E90 series, and now we're to the 27 millimeter is what you need for the 2021 X3. A couple things right off the bat that are different for this than older BMWs. Number one, this has got to go. This is not really held on by anything other than some pop spots, and you just have to find out where they are and then pull, and then they'll pop up. And I'll show you on the bottom of these where they are. This particular one has 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You just have to pop them out. They will snap back in place, but it's just to hold that on. But again, this has to be removed. That's one thing that has to be removed. The second thing, I think you could get away with it, but I like to pull it out. Thing unique to this is you got to watch out for this hose. Maybe if you move the hose a little bit. These are, again, 1, 2, 3, quite a bit different than older BMWs. The filter in this case is all the way down here, and that's the 27 millimeter socket that needs to go there. Just like other BMWs, you tighten it to 25 Newton meters, and it also will have a gasket that we have to replace as soon as we get it out. So now let's get the oil filter out, but I'm going to place some towels first, just so basically when it comes out, it doesn't spill oil all over these things and down into there. So I'm going to do that next, and then we'll show you the oil filter coming out. All right, so again, in 27 millimeter, I happen to have a 27 in my Craftsman impact socket set, and it was the largest one, so just kind of got to wiggle that on there, and not on there with a lot of torque, and there it's free, so I'll just take this off. And let's see how this comes out. All right. So not too messy. You can see there's a unique little piece right here. When we put it back together, we got to make sure that that lines up. So let me get this out of the engine bay before I make a mess. It's a moderate pain in the ass to get this out. There we go, just a very small oil filter. We need to remove this little gasket. So I just used a screwdriver just to pop that out. You need to make sure that when you replace it with the one that's in here, that you put a little bit of oil on the gasket so that it slips up on there. And as they say, installation is reverse or removal, which sometimes is easier said than done. But this one actually went back on there quite easily compared to other ones I've done. But again, make sure that you put this on the correct groove. You don't want to shove it all the way to the top, or you're not going to get a good seal and you're going to get a leak. So speaking from experience there. So then, unlike other BMWs, I used to take these and shove this in here. But because of this piece right here, you cannot actually do that. You actually have to take this and put this in the car first. So you may be tempted that you think this needs to come off, but actually this piece needs to stay in there. And then there's a very specific spot that notches down in when you put it back into the oil filter housing. And there's a notch all the way down in the bottom there. Nearly impossible to catch with the camera, but you have to trust me that way down in here this filter will only fit in one way. So this obviously is going to go on that, but it's got to seat in a very specific spot to make sure, and it's almost like it only wants to go down in one spot. You can feel it kind of rotate and then just dump in there. So again, this time you put the filter in the car and then put the cap on the filter. Very different than my experience with other BMWs. So got the filter on, and now we'll slip the cap on, and I'll hand tighten it as far as I can go. And then again, you torque it down 25 Newton meters. But if you find that it's not going, then you need to double check that plug and make sure that it's in the correct spot. Again, you got to really make sure that one nipple's seated just right, or you'll never get the oil filter to come down all the way. Once you've reached the engagement point is when you check the actual torque. So we're right there, and then I'll use a torque wrench to check it. There we go. All right, now that we've got the filter changed, I'm gonna put these things back on. You can see 1, 2, 3, kind of line them up, make sure that everything looks right. Again, it's fortunately for us, it's only going to go one way, so you can't really mess it up. But these hoses are kind of a pain, and you do have to be careful of those when you put them in, especially this top hose. You don't want the hose bound up like I just did it right there. There you go. Make sure that hose right there doesn't bind up in there. You want that to not have any torque or pressure on it. Then we're going to slip the engine cover back on. Again, this one has 4 spots. Once you get it kind of lined up, then it should just start snapping into place. Clearly, this is easier said than done. Be patient, keep shifting the cover around until the plastic studs engage the grommets, and you'll feel a satisfying click. There's 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So now we're gonna lift the truck up and drain the oil from underneath, and then we'll bring it back down and fill it up. This is got to come out. This is just a little cover. It's got 2 finger holes. You just rotate it and you just pop that out. That covers the bottom of the oil pan. And given that it's a BMW, I'm guaranteeing that it's probably a 17 or a 15, but I'm guessing a 17. And a 17 is the correct answer. So we just need to loosen this and let the oil drain. Oh, there we go.
Now get your thing out.
So we did idle the car a little bit to warm up the engine oil. You can drain it completely cold. I like to drain it maybe not at full operating temperature, but idle for a while so that when the engine oil is warm, it comes out a little bit faster and it drains a little bit more completely, a little bit easier than just waiting, especially if you live in a cold climate and the oil's like super cold. Once the car's drained the oil completely and you got the drain plug, make sure to change the crush washer. These are single use only. If you could look far enough, there are actually little grooves in it. And the new one, which is right here, does not have any of those grooves. So these compress a little bit with being torqued down, and you only want to use them once. And then you can see that our drain plug is not rounded off. The threads aren't stripped. everything looks good, because if you have any suspicions about the drain plug bolt, now is the time to change it. But this looks good. Clearly I'm comfortable to reuse it. We'll put a new crush washer on it, clean off the base where it installs, and then torque it down. So I'm going to just wipe this base off right here, make sure it's nice and clean, and then we're going to reinstall the drain plug. Maybe. There it goes. You definitely want to make sure you take your time and hand thread these to get them to start. You don't want to cross thread, or it will be extremely expensive repair. And if you had to make an educated guess on what the torque spec is, and you guessed 25 Newton meters, you would be correct, because BMW's torque spec for the drain plug, the oil drain plug, is 25 Newton meters. So I just happen to have a torque wrench right here. We're going to check it real quick and wait. There you go. Now we're set. What's odd is I thought the dirty side would go out, but if you have to look at the notches, the notch goes up. In this case, the dirty side goes up, which is the opposite of what I would have thought. So those bottom washes that I do every now and then actually do a good job. So it's nice and snug in there. The floor panel is all good. And now it's time to drop it back and fill it up with oil. So in this case, I like to use a funnel. I find that I'm a lot less likely to make a mess with a funnel. You can reuse funnels, you just got to keep them clean. Funnels will for sure make your life a lot better. If you spilled oil down in all those hoses and conduits, you're going to be hating life until that's all cleaned out and or burnt off. B48 4-cylinder turbo of BMW, the fill spec for it is about 5.5 quarts. So is this the last one? I'm going to pour about somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 into the car, and then check the oil level, and then see if I need to add any from there. It's far easier to add extra than it is to have to drain some out if you've overshot. There's about 400 mLs in out of this 1 liter bottle of BMW TwinPower Turbo SAE 020 or OW20. All right, now I've got my small torque wrench, and we're going to check, make sure that we actually did do 25 Newton meters. There we go, 25 Newton meters. Now it's time to reset the service indicator. Do a rapid triple press of the start-stop. Diagnostic mode active. Make sure your foot is off the brake. Push and hold it for about 30 seconds. You do want to make sure you do see the check engine light over here. Diagnostic mode active again. Push and hold the BC button for, I call it the trip computer button, but the BC button for about 30 seconds. If you don't see the reset service message pop up, just repeat the triple press of the start stop button. It is not uncommon to have to try this several times before you get it. Engine oil reset possible. Yes, we want to reset the engine oil. So we just want to do the engine oil. So push and hold that button again, the BC button. And it just seems like forever that you have to hold these buttons, but it will eventually reset. And there you have a reset in progress. And it's going to program that it tells us in September of next year that we have to do an oil change again. And now when we start the car for real, the oil service light warning is off now. And it tells us service is due in 1,100 miles or 11,000 miles. So the last thing I like to do after I've changed the oil is check the engine oil. We actually have a video on this if you'd like to watch it. The car will automatically check it for you and let you know if it's low or high. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to BMW Blog's YouTube channel. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.